Is it good to leave corporate? Should you stay in corporate? A lot of it comes down to your personality traits.
You just got to be aware that all your problems aren't going to be solved by leaving corporate and starting a business. In fact, you're going to have a whole new set of problems, but you have control over your own destiny when you're doing your own thing.
A nightmare I'm living in. You call me crazy, call me drunk, and I said I know well. I can see right through you.
Welcome to Second Story, everybody. I'm Josh Cybulski, joined, as always, by Corey Leckie. Corey, how's our new opening track?
New opening track's good, man. Recent Rumors, killing it on the opening track. Yeah, man. I'm digging it.
That song's a bop. I like it. Sets the vibe for the show. You know, angry, on cocaine. That's the show.
Yeah.
That's the entire theme of this show. So, welcome everybody. So, Corey, we both went on vacation. We took a little time away, a little R&R. Going into vacation, I needed it, and I immediately got sick with gastro in vacation. Lost the first week of vacation, but made the most of the second one. And you know, I think you and I both felt this without saying it, but I felt burnt out going into vacation. Like legit, just burned completely out. What about you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been dealing with, I would say, a level of burnout for the past maybe even a year.
Yeah,
a lot going on, right? A lot of different variables. I've been running a business for a while, close to a decade now. And the last 7 years has kind of been, I don't want to say easy, but I've definitely landed in a complacent zone where business was coming to me. And this year, I don't know if it's due to economy, people not wanting to spend money, just changing environment in general with social media or whatever. But it seems like it's been a harder go lately. So yeah, definitely been feeling the burnout.
the economy in Canada is doing great under our new. Are we not good? The jobs report said we lost 40,800 jobs. That's 40,800 people retired.
Oh yeah, that's what
they got
it
enough
is.
money to not work anymore, right? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a real tough time for people right now, and certainly the job numbers are not good in Canada. I mean, they're not great in the States either. Things are not. I think North America's having a time right now, and it's not a real great one. You know, it's funny you talk about kind of being complacent. We've talked about that ad nauseum in previous episodes, the region beta, just being comfortable. And I've lived there for years too, in the corporate world, just where I was comfortable. And then, you know, a couple of years ago became quite uncomfortable. And talking about burnout, I have started to find that my body is telling me that you have to leave corporate very soon. And I think my brain is also telling me the same thing, which is weird because I can't yet. And, you know, most people who leave corporate don't do so by choice. There's very few people who actually get to choose to leave. You did. You got to make that choice to leave. And certainly it's a struggle. But I did want to talk to you about that and kind of dive deep into that because you're obviously ahead of me in being out of corporate, and I would like to get there. And, you know, I have a few friends who have been fortunate enough to get out. We've had some of them on this show. John Brazo comes to mind as one.
Yeah.
You know, Tim as well. Tim McLeod, the couch flipper, if you saw that episode. So we, you know, talking to a lot of these people has been inspirational for me because it tells me you can do it. It's just incredibly hard. And obviously you're out, but it's still difficult for you, even though you're a decade into it.
Yeah. I think like the one thing that I would say is when you're thinking about leaving corporate, you just got to be aware that all your problems aren't going to be solved by leaving corporate and starting a business. In fact, you're going to have a whole new set of problems. But there's a lot of good to it as well, as far as, you know, you've got control over, for the most part, you have control over your own destiny when you're doing your own thing. So I just wanted to throw that caveat in there. Is like some people think, okay, if I leave or if I go to even if you're leaving one corporate job going to another, they think the grass is going to be greener, things are going to be better, I'm going to make more money, and suddenly all my problems are gone or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's just not always the case.
Yeah, definitely. That is when people become disillusioned with something, there's always this mentality that it's when you try something new, it's automatically going to be better. And oftentimes it's worse or it's on par. And I think it's very easy to become disillusioned even more because your expectations going into this new thing were a lot higher. And you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be amazing. I'm not going to have any of these problems that I have in whatever corporate job or whatever, even if it's a small business that you're working for. You do start to feel like these problems won't exist there, but oftentimes they do. It's just the change really, at least from my perspective, is the problems that you have are yours and yours alone, unless you have a ton of employees that work for you. But whereas if you work for corporate, you've got your problems and also the company's problems, and you've also got your boss's problems and your boss's problems and you get the idea, right? The problems just sort of trickle downhill. It's the expression, like the shit always rolls downhill. And if you're in the bottom half of a corporation, all the CEO's problems are going to find their way to you through, the pecking order.
Yeah. And we've talked about it many times too. The corporate world is set up as an hourly pay. Like even if you're on salary, they're breaking that down to you're working a certain amount of hours and that's what makes up your salary. And really the main difference when you move into like entrepreneurship is it's a value-based pay. So you get paid based on what people perceive the value to be. So you can set your price at whatever you think you're worth. And then it depends on the consumers to see that value and pay you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
And like there's a lot of problems with hourly, right? Like there's a lot of issues with it because, and I think what you've found is you've been at your place of work for a long time. You become very, very skilled at it. You've found a lot of success there. And what's happening is they're going, wait a minute, you're able to do your job twice as fast as you used to be able to. So now we should pile more work on you as opposed to, allowing you to have that free time after you've finished the job based on the skills that you've gained over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that certainly happens when you become really skilled at your job when you're working for somebody else. Like you say, they find ways to pile the work that they want you to do onto you versus developing more skills and things like that. Like every corporate job I've ever had, they're like, oh, we want you to develop skills in this, this, and this. But as soon as you kind of get that, capacity to do so, they're like, oh, by the way, here's this and this and this. And it's a lot of the same. It's not like they piled completely new stuff on you. It's in the same vein of what you're currently doing. It's just more. And what I found, like, I'll talk about this. I don't know if I've ever brought this up on a show, but I went into a meeting one time. I won't say what company I was with or where I was, but the meeting was basically that one of the people in the department had left the department and he was highly skilled. He was moving on to another job. And basically the meeting was myself and everyone in the department I was working in. And it was to divide up that guy's work. And this was I've talked to you about this, obviously off air, but this was a huge turning point for me. So we go into this meeting and basically they're like, yeah, we're going to divide, who wants to take this, who wants to take that. And I'm like, the person replacing him. And they're like, oh no, there's nobody replacing him. And in my head, I'm like, so this guy had 100, let's just say he had 100% capacity for his work. We're chipping 10% away and divvying it to everybody. So everybody who's currently at 100 is now going to 110. And the expectation is they're going to perform the same. And this is one of my biggest gripes with the corporate world is that's the way it is. There's because now they look at however much they're paying that person, say it's 100 and whatever, 25, 150,000 between his salary and benefits or her salary and benefits. Well, they just save that money. And that money ain't going to everybody who's taking that 10% of the work. I'll tell you that much. And that's the way it works. That's the way big business is. And
Mhm.
once you see that, you can't unsee it. So it's one of the many reasons that I became disillusioned with working in a corporate environment. That's just the way it is. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't shove it back in and just put blinders up. It's like when you start to figure out how the world and the systems really work within the world. Like if you figure out how banking really works, you can't unsee it because you see it everywhere, right? Your
Mhm.
expression is you're red pilled on it. And that's very much the way I feel about corporate. But I want to talk about you off the top. Now we have some videos we're going to play of a few people commenting. I do want to address both sides of the argument. Like, is it good to leave corporate? Should you stay in corporate? And you and I have talked about this, but a lot of it comes down to your personality traits, what perhaps learning disorders you might have, what mental health issues you're dealing with. Those can kind of determine whether corporate's a good fit or a bad fit for you. And for you and I, the mental health stuff that we deal with, some of the personality traits that we have, we're better suited to be outside of corporate. So it's not so much a choice as it is like, it's just who we are. It's in our DNA. Corporate's not
Mhm.
great for us. So right off the top, I just want to get that out there. Now, going back to you, what was the thing or the series of things that you knew inside of your bones that like I got to get out? What was the thing?
Yeah, the main catalyst for, I'll be honest, like when I started working in the banking system, I actually enjoyed it. Like I really did like it. I was helping customers. I was helping, young people get their first homes. Like I was helping people learn how to invest money. Like I really did actually enjoy it. I liked the customer service aspect. I liked solving problems. Loved all of that. Um, but where I started becoming disillusioned was when my bosses started coming to me asking me why I wasn't selling certain things, even though they weren't good for the client.
Mm.
So it would be like, this is kind of the flavor of the month thing. Why aren't you selling that? And then I would say to them, well, it's not best for the client. I do like a deep dive with every client, figure out what they're best suited for, and it's not that thing. Right. And I was starting to get penalized for not selling to the client, and because all I wanted to do was help them in whatever way possible, even if they didn't need like a specific product, like just being there to help them. And
Mm.
that's not how it works, right? The bottom line is they want certain things sold, they want certain numbers, they want certain percentages, and that just didn't work for me.
Mm.
um so when that started becoming more and more evident and more where I was being penalized for it, I was like, this is not a healthy environment for me. This is where I've got to leave. And I started becoming I got very depressed while I was
Mm.
in there, because I was like, I've spent many years here. I've built up a salary. I'm making the right amount of money, but I'm just not happy ever. Like I'm
Yeah.
not happy at work. I'm not happy when I'm home. I just was not, there was not a point in my life where I was like, hey, I'm content and I'm happy here.
Yeah.
Um, and then for me, like a lot of people, obviously you don't want to just, I had 3 kids. Like, it's not like you can just leave
Mm.
and just, not have anything to back you up. So I had been building a thing on the side, and then, a few circumstances happened that I was able to leave. I had someone reach out to me for a job that was more suited for me. It was a big pay cut, but it helped me get out of there.
Yeah.
And it was worth it to take the pay cut to do something that I was actually like proud of and happy to do. And my whole situation at home changed. Like I just became a different person and had capacity like in myself to do more, to be creative, to build. And that was my journey. And that's why I left corporate.
Hmm. Yeah. So the pay cut thing, obviously that's something that people really struggle with, is the idea of losing the security. And we've talked about it ad nauseum on this show. The security is really a tricky thing, but it's, the golden handcuffs that people talk about, right? They want you, when you get a job and you get locked into a salary, your employer is more than happy to see you roll in there in an Audi, right? They're more than happy to say, "Oh, you got a new car, nice, that's looking good." I remember seeing that in so many places I worked, where the managers would always get a smile on their face, especially if you were a good employee. "Oh, nice car, very nice. You're here for a while. You got to pay that thing off." The house too, like, "Oh, you bought a house out there. Ooh, it's nice out there. Good, good. Congrats." Hooks. They got you for 25 years theoretically.
I think that's a big thing too. Like, people live beyond their means. Like, we all do. We all live like way beyond our means, right? So the thing is, like, I took about a $25,000 a year pay cut. Some people, that's like their whole salary, right? $25,000. I took that as a pay cut to go to this other place. But it's weird because I didn't really see a difference, because I just started living differently. Like, we didn't push ourselves outside of, you end up living relative to what you have.
Yeah.
No matter what that is. So that's what I did. And like I said, I had the mental capacity to do more outside. Like, I was willing, when I was working in corporate, I was doing the 5 to 9, and I wasn't willing to work outside of that as much because I was depressed. Like, I was not looking to create anything outside of that. But when I had the mental capacity and I was feeling good and happy, all of a sudden the creativity came back to me. I started working on my videography business outside. I started just doing a lot more things. And plus, the place I was working at gave me a little bit more flexibility as well. They were really kind to me. They knew what I wanted to build, and they helped me build it, honestly.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of people don't get that, but that's huge. I think we should roll the first Scott Galloway clip, because it kind of speaks to what you're talking about with just leaving corporate.
Young people oftentimes mistake their hobbies for their passions. And what I would suggest is, and what I can guarantee you, is being successful at anything, passion comes from mastery. Mastery comes from being a ninja at something. I'm renovating a house, and there's this guy installing our soapstone who's the soapstone guy. He's an Iraqi immigrant, dropped out of high school. He knows everything about soapstone. He can talk to you about the vein in the soapstone and which quarries. He made 1.3 million pounds last year. He's the soapstone guy. I can't imagine when he was a kid, he and I bonded over football. I would bet, I don't know this, I would bet he dreamt of being a football star and playing for Iraq in the World Cup at some point. I doubt at the age of 17, he thought, I'm hoping in 15 years I'm installing soapstone and renovations for American douchebags in Marylebone. I can't imagine that was his dream, right? But here's the thing. He has an amazing life. He takes care of his kids. He takes care of his parents. He gets to take amazing vacations with his wife, which makes him passionate about soapstone. So yeah, go be a fashion designer. But let's be honest. If you're not making enough money to pay your rent within 2 years, and you're not making enough money to, say, form a family in 5 years, we're going to workshop something else.
Yeah. So I don't agree with this entire clip, but I do agree with the vast majority of it. And I know some people don't like Scott Galloway. I think he's pretty smart dude. Definitely don't agree with everything he says, but he's pretty sharp. So I'll just get the thing out of the way that I don't agree with. At the end, where he says, if you're not making enough money in a couple of years to pay your rent, then workshop something else. People aren't making enough money to pay their rent working full-time jobs. So to me, that point's a little bit moot, because people are already having to work a job and possibly another full-time job, or some 20 hours a week at a different thing, or some side hustle, or have a business. Like, people just aren't paying the rent. So that part, I kind of look at the end and I'm like, yeah, not so much. I don't agree with that. However, the idea of like pursuing your passion, I do agree with. Like, my passion is writing books, but I'm never going to make a living writing books. And people always ask me, they're like, you're doing these side hustles, why aren't you working on your books? because that shit doesn't pay. I could write fiction books the rest of my life. I'll make $8,000 if I'm lucky on each book. Like I sold, I'm up to 3,300 copies of my book. I made less than $9,000 on it, all told, like when you factor expenses and stuff. So I'm never going to make a living at it. However, I know that I'm a good writer, and I know that I'm a good talker. That's where, you know, I've done broadcasting for years, and I've written stuff. I write things that I don't necessarily want to write about because it pays me money and gives me the potential ability to leave corporate. And I do have passion for it because I'm good at it. So wouldn't say I've mastered it, but I'm quite good at it. And because I'm quite good at it, I have a passion for it. So I do agree with what he's saying there. Like you don't necessarily want to leave your corporate gig to pursue some passion. You should actually pursue what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it can change too over the
For
years.
sure.
Like, you know, I think it's okay to let go of your childhood passion or your teenage dreams that you had.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I mean, as much as you can, you should strive to be in something that you do love and that you do feel good about at the end of the day. I'll be honest. Like I worked over the pandemic. I worked with a buddy doing landscape design, you know, just as a side job. And I love doing that. Like, it's certainly not something that I thought I'd ever like doing or something that I set out to do when I was younger, and it's a hard work. Like, like it's definitely like a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of digging and all that stuff. But seeing that like creative side and the end result that you get from it, like I did really enjoy that. So I can see where someone could develop a passion for that just by gaining the skills and getting good at it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I ended up in a job, you know, I do video production. I set out to be a filmmaker. It's not the same thing. It's not the exact same thing. It's similar. Like I'm using cameras and lights and I'm directing and all that stuff, but it's still not, I'm not making movies. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I've gotten very, very skilled at it, like very skilled at doing commercial production. And yeah, you can just get like really good at something and love the fact that you're good at that and you're making money at it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the thing. So for those who do want to leave corporate, you're not necessarily in a great spot to leave corporate to go. I wouldn't recommend doing it to start a podcast. Maybe if you've built a podcast, like if your passion is podcasting, you should probably build it before you ever leave corporate, you know? Same if your passion is like writing, anything creative, really. Making movies, making a TV show, all that stuff. Like you better have something significant lined up where you're already making money at it. Because if you leave your corporate gig to go do it, you are probably screwed. You're going to end up in a worse corporate gig in a couple of years because you're just not going to get there. But mastering something, even if it's not the first choice, if it's something you do enjoy and you can master it, your passion will follow it. I really do believe that. I think Scott Galloway is absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move to this. Oh, you got anything to add to that?
I was going to say he's not the only one that talks about this stuff too. Like,
God, no.
I've definitely heard Alex Hormozy say this exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to find a Hormozy quote on this, but I didn't have any of them say it. So in this clip, which we'll play in a second, he's talking about be very thoughtful about leaving a corporate job. And this is something that I think you can really speak to. And I have sort of a different perspective because I haven't left yet, but I'm curious to hear yours.
Telling you to start a company without a solid idea of what you're doing is already rich. And here's the thing. We romanticize entrepreneurship and we diminish unfairly the power of the U.S. corporation. The greatest wealth generator in history is the U.S. corporation. I would be very careful before leaving that seat. If you're making good money at a good company and doing well, they're going to have no trouble replacing you. I think the sweet spot is being employee kind of 10 to 50 because some of the risk has already been starched out. If you want to start a business, start it before you leave. And that is have a company or have people who've already kind of started it and you know it sort of works. But just deciding to take off with a backpack and come back and start a company and give up a job, time goes fast. And I think there's a really decent chance that 2-3 years into it, you look back and think, I probably just should have stayed at that company and banked some money. If you're not challenged at work, then what I would suggest, if you're good, is you have a transparent conversation with your manager in your review and say, I like it here, be appreciative, be thoughtful, but I'd like some more challenging work. I'd like to challenge myself and push myself. And if it's a good company, they're going to find the type of work that challenges you. You can make a lot of money. Now, corporations are a great place to get rich slowly, and time goes fast. And if you're maximizing out your 401k and getting equity participation and they like you, I would think about trying to find a more entrepreneurial culture or more challenging work within that organization. A big theme here is we have a tendency to romanticize entrepreneurship and not appreciate how powerful the U.S. corporation is.
So this is sort of the side that is not really our side of things or how we look at things. But I mean, I don't necessarily agree with his entire take here, but I think it is a compelling argument.
I agree with that. And we talked with someone recently, Priya Sam, who had this exact same view that you can really make a good living in corporate, but you just need to make it into what you want it to be, I guess. Definitely a harder climb to go, you know what? I want to be a videographer at this giant bank. So how do I talk them into that? Right. And I actually had a moment where that was a possibility, which is kind of interesting. I did this like video contest when I was working at the one company and they loved it. And then I was like, I wonder who I talked to see, like, I won this contest or whatever. Like, how do I start doing marketing for them? How do I start doing the commercials, like, just from within? But it seemed like an impossible task. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to hire some outside big company, right? Like some big production house. So,
yeah. I think his advice really works if you're in a mid-sized company. If you're in a company where there may be a few hundred employees, I think you have a much better chance of standing out and climbing and being able to go to your boss. The thing is once you get into a big corporation, if you're in like a multinational or company that's doing, 10 billion in revenue or 10 billion with a B in revenue, you can't really reach the decision makers, the true decision makers. You might have a direct boss or your boss's boss. Their influence outside of the scope of your department is very limited. So to take you, for example, you're working at a multinational, your boss recognizes your ability. What can they do? They're not going to go to the CEO and be like, look, Corey is incredible at videography. Like, we really need to make some moves here. And the CEO puts his glasses down and goes, I've heard that name before. Bring him to me. Like, let's make this happen. It's not how it works. That's just not how it works. So it is very difficult. Whereas, you got 100 employees in a place, it's a lot easier to stand out. So I think his advice is good for people who want the safety and security of working at a business, but are just kind of unhappy in their current role, or they want more for themselves, or they do want to make more money. And I do agree with his take, like with talking about like equity participation, like you can put yourself in a very good financial position at a company. Like, I'm not in the best financial position, but I take 10% of my income every year and I dump it into equity purchasing, like within my company. And I've been very fortunate that since I've been doing that, it's 10x'd over 10 years, like the value of the company. So like that's a significant amount of money that, is stashed away that I don't really touch. And you can do that in a lot of businesses now where they will let you participate in whatever equity purchasing, share purchasing. Like, there's a lot of different plans. So you can do it. It's just people don't do it.
Yeah, and there's usually some kind of matching contribution from the company as well. And something you definitely don't have, at least in the first little while as an entrepreneur, because you're just putting all of your money back into equipment and your company and hiring employees and different things like that. So most
Yeah.
of your money, most of your profits, most of everything just goes right back into a business as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that's the discipline. That's why so
Mm-hmm.
few people actually are able to become entrepreneurs. Because even people working in corporate don't have the discipline to stash away 10% of their pay. I mean, I did it for years where I didn't stash anything away. It's only within really the last 5 years where I've started to stash a significant amount of my pay away. Now, part of that is I'm smarter with money. I'm in a better financial position, but a lot of it is people just don't like, they want to look at their paycheck and they want to grab as much of it as possible today because people view today's money better, like it's more important than tomorrow's. So
Yeah.
what he's talking about is absolutely true. It's just people don't do it.
I think there's also something about working, like I've worked for friends' companies as well, like friends that are entrepreneurs. I've worked for their companies, and I don't know, you have definitely a different passion for working for someone you know that you want to see them succeed and grow than you do like a faceless corporation. So there's also that kind of like mid tier employer that's great. Like I know people that have worked for like mechanic shops and things like that for their whole life, and they're not rolling in money or anything, but they just love the business. They get some sort of flexibility from having worked there for a long time, and you know, that camaraderie and friendship that you gain in those mid-sized businesses.
There's an actual like family component versus like a big corporation who says we're a family, and it's like, no, I've never been invited to the CEO's house. He's yet to invite me to his home. You know,
Yeah.
I've never even actually seen him in person, which it's, you know, a lot of times when you work for big business, I've worked for my place for 11 years, almost 12. Never met the man in person, never shook his hand, never seen him, nothing. And a lot of people have that experience, and that's just kind of the way it is. But to your point about mid-size and like having buy-in because you might know the owner, it's like, you know, that there's a lot of perks for working in a place like that, and they give you flexibility. The same can be true with a big business if you work for one. Like I mentioned the share thing. Like I have an investment in my company doing well because I'm literally financially invested in them doing well. Like as our stock goes up, the value of my accounts goes up. As the stock goes down, which it has recently, I was off work for 2 weeks and the thing just tanked. Yeah. But as it goes down, I go like, oh God, what's happening here? And I start to like look around, be like, what's going on wrong here? Like, why is this stock going down? Because I am literally invested in it. So there's something to say about companies that do give people those share purchase plans or what equity options, whatever it is. It does get buy-in, like real legit buy-in, because you do care about the health of the company. So yeah, what Scott Galloway's talking about there, I don't completely agree with it, but there's a lot of truth, especially for people who are suited to work in the corporate environment.
Going back just a minute for that other clip around like passion, like a lot of people think they want to build a business around their passion or their talent, like the major talent that they have or whatever. The one thing that I say to a lot of people is like, you can't build a business on talent alone, and you can't build a business on passion alone. So there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more around it. There's a lot of things like admin and, you know, lead generation and talking with clients and being social. And there's a lot to it that your talent alone doesn't do.
Yeah.
I'd say for most businesses, like the talent portion is like 10%, 15%, something like that. The rest of it is just like boring stuff. Like boring stuff or stuff that you might not be good at because you're like socially awkward, or you don't like talking to people, and you don't like going to networking things. And there's that side of things too when you're running a business. So
it's like you say, 10% of you enjoy, and then 90% of stuff you're not going to enjoy. And that's, I think, quite fair when it comes to building a business, because I know I've seen a lot of people who have left where I work, and they're like, I don't want to do sales. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm starting a business. Well, you're gonna have to sell yourself to people.
That's pretty much all you're going to be doing then.
That's a huge part of it. You got to convince people to give you their money for whatever service you might be offering. So even if you wanted to start whatever, something as simple as like a cleaning business or a landscaping business, you have to go out and sell yourself to people. So that's going to be part of it. And like you say, admin, bookkeeping, you're going to have to keep records. You're going to be the buyer for your equipment, your whatever. If it's a lawn care company, whatever.
Software, whatever.
Yeah. Lawn seed. You got to go out and get all of that stuff because at the beginning you just don't have other people doing that. And like even myself in my, freelancing career that I do, I had to go out and sell myself to people. Writing hockey articles, I had to go out and sell them to someone. There had to be somebody out there willing to pay money for hockey articles. And there's a million terrible bloggers writing hockey stuff for free that anyone could go out and get for free. I had to go out and convince somebody like, no, give me money to write about hockey. It was not an easy thing to do. And I hate selling, but I'm good at selling myself for the most part. And even a podcast, like we have to sell this podcast to people. And, we've had a sponsor or two on this show, but we've gone out and tried to sell ourselves to sponsors unsuccessfully for the most part. But it's a huge part. Like people think like, oh, I'll just get a mic and a camera and I'll start a podcast. No, you also have to sell yourself to the audience. And it is fucking difficult. It's really hard.
We've put out something like 500 videos in the last 2 years, shorts and episodes, but close to 500 videos. Most people aren't willing to put in that time and effort to do that, right? So
45 long form podcasts and like you say, like 500 or so shorts. I mean, I've written like 1,000 hockey articles in my career, I bet. 1,000 hockey articles in my career. And I would be lucky to get $100 for an article. Like that'd be a great payday for that. So it's like, are people willing to do that? I mean, there's hockey writers who make six figures doing it, but they also have to go sell themselves significantly for a long period of time. So going into business for yourself, there's a lot of things that are kind of in the shadows that people don't really think about how they have to do it. But there's certainly, if you're a corporate worker, you're working in a factory, your job is to work in that factory. You don't deal with the bookkeeping, the accounting. You're not dealing with the landscaping around the building, the security in the building, making sure that the lights stay on. None of that shit's your problem. And that's why people like corporate or working for a business. Cause it's like, I just show up, I plunge the toilets and I go, stamp my card and call it a day. And people want to just go home and watch Netflix and nuke the supper, all right, so this next video is a complete opposite take on corporate, and this is something that I will say has happened to me before. I can't remember if it happened to you. I'd be curious, but I know a lot of people that this has happened to. It ain't just me, and I think a lot of people could probably relate to this next video.
Let's get into your performance review for this fiscal year. Sounds good. I mean, you crushed it. Every project, every timeline. You could not be a more valuable member of this team. Thank you. Every goal you set, you hit. You've even got above and beyond for us on many occasions. I did work really hard, so it feels nice for that to be acknowledged. We couldn't be more happy with your performance. As you can see, we've given you a 3 out of 5. A 3? Yes, that stands for meets expectations. Great work. But you said I crushed it. What would I have needed to do to get a 4? 4 is a reserve for our top 2 employees company-wide each year. And 5s? Made up. Yeah, never once in history of performance reviews has a 5 been granted. Oh, so I'm a 3, even with all that effort I put in this past year. And we knew you would. So all that extra effort absolutely meets our expectations. Cool. You earned it.
That's a soul-crushing reel for people. I'm sure a lot of people will relate to it.
I've worked on the employee side, and then I've also worked in the management side in corporate. And I've had to give these reviews where
that's interesting.
Or I think the one that's coming to mind was I had suggested someone for a raise that had been there for like a decade, and they were awesome and they were just killing it. And I could not get this person a raise, like for the life of me. So new employees were coming in and making the same amount as her. And no matter I went to like several different bosses above me trying to get this person a raise. I'm like, she's going to leave. Like this, you're going to lose this like really great employee. And sure enough, you know, within a month of me not being able to get this raise for her, she was gone.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, those performance reviews are terrible. And then as an employee, like on the other side of things, one that really sticks out for me was I was at the top of the leaderboard for sales for months, like quarters and quarters and quarters. Like I was usually near the top. And I moved to a branch where there was kind of a domineering other advisor there that took all the clients and would get mad if I took clients and would like complain to the management and all this stuff, right? So I had one quarter where I didn't hit my goals to 100%. I think I was at like 98% or something like that. And they want you at like 120%. They don't want you at 100.
Yeah.
So then I was put on like performance review for one bad quarter that was a little bit out of my control as far as
they put you on a PIP.
Put me on a PIP.
I've heard that in the office. Literally, my boss say, "I'll put him on a fucking PIP."
Put him on a
I've heard
PIP.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to do it? I'll put him on a PIP.
And that was kind of like, for me, that was the big eye opener. That's when I really started hating working there. Cause like like I said, I had liked it up to that point. I liked what I was doing. Obviously I was good at it cause I was at the top of the leaderboards and all that. But then I had this one bad quarter and they were putting me on PIP and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, I see what this is. Right. And that was a bit of an eye opener for me and a bit of my like, downfall, I guess, in corporate.
How soon after did you leave?
I probably worked at that bank for another year.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a different branch and once again was top of the leaderboards. They had this reward thing where you ended up going on a cruise. So like the top people would go on this cruise if you hit a certain, if you were at the top of the leaderboard for sales and all this stuff. Which once again is like sketchy because you're not doing what's best for the client. You're doing what's best for the numbers. Right.
Yeah.
But I was at the top of this leaderboard and it was a bit of a great fuck you that I actually quit right before the cruise. I was like, the bosses were all like, hey, you get to go on this cruise and it's going to be so fun and all this stuff. And then I was just like, hey, I'm leaving to go to work at this other place. And they're like, but the cruise. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your cruise. How's that feel? Right.
They're probably happy not to pay you for you to go on the cruise.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't want to go on a cruise with you and all these like stupid CEOs, managers here. Like, fuck you. So yeah, that was kind of a fun fuck you to them.
Yeah.
I was also like probably a month out of getting an extra week vacation when I left too. But then I just used that at the next place. I just leveraged that and I was like, hey, I was going to get 5 weeks vacation and you're only offering me 3. So then I got 5 there or whatever. So
yeah.
Yeah,
that's good. My experience with this, I've been a manager too, long time ago. But yeah, my experience was similar where it's like I tried to get somebody a raise and they're like, no, we don't think so. And then that person took off. But I've actually had this meeting in multiple places that I've worked where it's gone that way. But the one that really sticks out was when a few years ago, I remember going to my wife and being like, I am going to kill it for the next whatever. I was like, I'm going to see where the chips fall for the next couple of years. I'll crush it. I'll work 50, 60 hours a week. I don't care. I'm going to see where it gets me. Because I kind of saw there was like this opening at my work where it's like, I could see my way to executive because a lot of the people above me were much older. Some of them were retiring. Some of them were kind of moving other places. And I was like, there's a real path for me to get into the executive level, make some serious money here. So I was pretty motivated. And, I basically spent a year where, I went above and beyond on everything. I killed it in every single metric, like lapped my entire department nationally. Mm-hmm. So I was like number 1 in the entire country, just killing it and working 60 hours a week And then it came to my performance review, and it was the exact scenario that we just watched, where met expectations. I got a 1.6% raise. And I remember I couldn't even talk in the meeting. I was just so flabbergasted. And then not even an hour later, my boss, who had been encouraging, of course, to do this, right? Just keep killing it, keep killing it. Boss comes to me and a few other people in my department. He's like, yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I'm leaving the department. I've been promoted to this position. And then they brought someone into the department to become my boss who had never worked in our department before, knew nothing about the role. And they literally came to me and they're like, we need you to train this person. And I was like, you need me to train my own boss? And they're like, yes. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I was like, literally like, this is so fucked. I was so angry. And I went to my wife and I'm like, this just happened. And she's like, oh my, like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to put in what they pay me for, not a second more. And those 25, 30 hours a week that I was giving them for free, I'm going to take those and I'm going to build my own shit. I'm going to build my own business on the side. And it's exactly what I did for the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I built my writing career, like my freelance career. I built the business that we're building, built this fucking show. That was my 30 hours a week. I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And yeah, basically got to a point where I made more money away from my job than I made it with it. And even if I'd gotten to the executive level, I don't think it would have got to the level that I got to. So as much as it was like a slap in the face, it was a good slap in the face because it red pilled me to be like, oh, that's how this goes. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I know now. We know where everybody stands. Like, I will give you what you pay me for and not a second more. And that's the way it's always going to be for me. Like, you can't undo that. Once you've done it to someone, you can't undo it. There's no carrot to dangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my moment for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to that hourly thing being a punishment too, that we were talking about at the very beginning. Just, yeah, I mean, you can do your job in a lot less time than you were, right?
Yeah.
But you were putting in just all these extra hours, thinking that you would get ahead or thinking that you'd get paid more or something. And sure enough, the hours don't actually matter. It's what you can get done in those hours.
Yeah, and I should add that, you know, a few years after that event happened, I became so efficient at my job that I was still crushing it and like lapping the department that I got the biggest raise I had ever gotten in my entire career. It was like almost 10% raise and got a review that was like significantly better. It was funny just the way it worked out, but it was like, it became apparent to them that like, oh, this guy's killing it. And like, I don't know, I think we need to make him happy or something. I don't know what it was, but it was, it was just funny the way it all timed out. But the boss who had left the department was like, oh, I don't give leading. Because I'd asked him, like, how did I not get leading? I'm leading in every category. He's like, oh, I don't give leading.
Yeah.
What a terrible thing to say to an employee. Like, no, we don't give that. That's just fake. Like, that's not something that actually exists. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a wild meeting to have. Very, like, literally career altering for me. Yeah. So, but in a good way. Like, it really, really opened my eyes. So, anyways, that's why I wanted to play that clip, because it's, you know, I think it's something that's very relatable for people.
All right.
All right. The next clip is shower beer. Now, this is someone who has recently left corporate and is, I mean, there's no other way to put it. Pretty
angry,
pretty pissed about it. Like, just pissed off about it. But I think it really shows where young people are. Like, people significantly younger than us, but like, there are a lot of young people who are extremely angry about the corporate world, and they're just like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, and it's wild to see how brazen it is. It's everywhere. Like, it is all over social media. People who are just like, screw this. Like, I'm not participating in this system. And I think it's interesting. Yeah. All right, let's watch this clip. This is from Shower Beer.
How do you know it's time to leave? You know it's time to leave when your body tells you it's time to leave. And if you have a very clear channel of communication with your body, meaning if you're sensitive to its cues, then it'll tell you in subtle ways and you'll listen to it when it tells you in subtle ways. So like small depressive episodes, anxiety, fatigue. Fatigue is a really, really big one. But if you don't have that clear channel of communication, meaning if you don't listen to what your body is trying to tell you, you're not used to listening to your body's cues, then it will continue to send you these messages in bigger and bigger ways until you do listen. So for me, for example, I had debilitating panic attacks for a long time before I quit my job and left corporate. My mom, who also left corporate when she was in her 40s, it was really hard for her to do that. You know, she had a mortgage, she had kids, like she held out a lot longer than I did because she had these responsibilities. It was hard for me to leave too, but it was definitely harder for her. She developed sciatica that was so severe that she was bedridden for like 6 months essentially. These things feel really unrelated. Like my panic attacks and anxiety, I didn't connect it to corporate at all. That's how disconnected I was, you know? We think those stakes are very low. Like, yeah, you know, we're kind of unhappy, but at least we're getting paid, at least we can pay our bills. I actually think the stakes are a lot higher. There's a toll that our body absorbs that maybe we aren't aware of, but our body is definitely aware of it, and it can be really catastrophic. You know, like I've seen people develop really major depression. This shit isn't a game. You being unhappy for a long period of time, it can have really serious, dire consequences. Look, I didn't think it was possible for me to get out either. My mom didn't think it was possible for her to get out, and I've talked to so many other people who feel the same way. But there is a way out. There is. But the first thing you have to do is stop lying to yourself.
I know at the time that I was leaving corporate, like I would say even the probably 6 months prior, like everything in my body was telling me to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I was depressed. I would come home, I wouldn't say a word to my family, my young kids, my wife. I would walk right by them. I remember one time I just like, this is crazy, but I just remember one time I just like went in the bathroom and just sat in the corner with the door shut and locked because I was like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want anyone to come near me. I don't want my kids to come see me. I don't want anything. So she's right. Like your body really does tell you. And when you're at that point, you just feel hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
You don't perform at work. I was like, I don't know, taking like a month to do a credit application kind of thing. Like I was having clients coming to me going like, what is happening? Like, what's going on with this thing? And I'd blame like the credit department. I'd blame like all these other things, but it was me. It was me that was the problem.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's totally right. Like you do have to listen to it. I find what's hard with some of these videos, and I see a lot of this stuff where it's like, you can leave, there is a way, blah, 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 but there's no blueprint for it. Like no one really tells you what you should do.
No, buy their course. Not her. She doesn't have a course, but a lot of people it's like, buy my course. Yeah. Buy my course and you'll be out of your corporate gig or whatever. You'll have passive income or, all that shit.
But I think when you do get in tune with what your body's telling you, what happened for me is I started seeing like other opportunities when I started actually like getting in tune. I went and got therapy, which helped. I started doing, some things for myself. And I think the biggest thing was I started working towards leaving.
Yeah.
And that actually gave me hope, right? The hope that there was other opportunity out there and that I could go for it. Just doing the work, that little side work to try to like get out of there. That was like my hope and my window. And I know that you're feeling that now. It's like you're doing a ton of work. You're doing like all this side hustle, the side work, but it's all with that hope in mind. and that makes it easier to take the job that you're in. Or I assume. I'm just assuming.
No, you're bang on. Hope keeps a lot of people going. So
Mhm.
the meeting that I just talked about, where that terrible review, I had for the next like 6 months after that, I had everything you're talking about. I had constant migraines. I had this feeling of dread. I would get the panic attacks, not to the degree that she's talking about, but like I would literally walk around feeling anxiety. I remember I used to get this pain in my neck that would just shoot up, and it literally felt like the veins were bulging in my neck. And it was just
Mhm.
like this constant thing, and that's what led to migraines and stuff like that. But the constant dread was the worst part. But then I started to get like my eyes were opened, even though I was going through all that. But then I started to spot opportunity. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, these are the things I'm good at. Like I really addressed what my skills were. Where
Mhm.
can I apply them? What can I do with them? And that was where, I began it with my writing, being like, okay, where can I go and make money writing? And that was kind of what started it. But as soon as I got that, it was like this light bulb just went off in my brain. I was like, I have some hope here. And
Mhm.
I've been living off hope for 3 years, basically. Like I still have the feeling of dread whenever I have to do stuff for my job. Like there's things that I don't like doing about it, but the dread sort of gets drowned out by the hope. So a lot of times it is hope. I think so many people just feel completely hopeless that they can't even bring themselves to find hope. And those are the people I feel really sad for.
Mhm.
Because they may be stuck. If you can't find that gear to put in the work outside of your job, then you are stuck. Like you're there. You need to find that energy that says, okay, I'm going to put even an hour a day, 2 hours a day into this other thing. Before I do anything when I get home, I'm going to work at this thing. And if you
Mhm.
can find that, like you can find the willpower to actually drive yourself through your corporate gig, because you sort of see a light at the end of the tunnel. But if you got no light, I mean, oh my God, you're going to have a hard time.
Well, and I remember you going through a bit of a hopeless phase where you were like searching for a lot of people when they get to that point, they just start searching for other jobs that are
Yeah.
basically the same thing they already have.
Yeah. I did
And
that
I remember you
for
and
like
I having a
sure.
lot of conversations at that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it came around to you were saying, I'm not qualified for this and I'm not qualified for that. And I don't have the schooling for that. And I don't have this for that. And I remember just talking with you about all the things that you are skilled at.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was around the time where you went and got that hockey writing job.
Yeah. Yeah. I started to, look. It was also like I would look in the area that I live in, which is you need French to work here, right? Anywhere
Mm-hmm.
here. So I started to look like, oh, where could I go that's not here and go work? And that was where another light bulb went off. But yeah, that was a big part of it. Therapy too. Like you talked about therapy. I could
Mm-hmm.
not, I don't think I could overstate how important therapy was to go through. And my therapist, like verbatim, has said, you have to leave your job. And like, I don't know when it was, maybe 3-4 months ago, where she said, like, you have to get out when you can. And
Yeah.
like for your therapist to say, yeah, you need to go, that was huge. I also, so like just
Mine actually
speaking
did the
on,
same thing.
yeah, I know. That's what's funny. But you know what? A lot of it comes down to personality. Your personality, if you have a certain personality type, you're probably best suited to work for a business, to work at, whether it's a corporation or government or what have you. There's a personality type that is suited to the structure, to the security, to all of those things. Like you might be risk adverse. You might be somebody who just, looks at the security like a warm blanket. Like, oh, this is nice. I come to this office, I make my tea, I just do my work, and then I go home and, take my kids to soccer or whatever. People love that, and good for them. You do you. If your personality is that, by all means, stay in that world, because you're going to be much happier there.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and you have ADHD and you have dyslexia and you have issues around, like, those two things cause major issues around like self-esteem. Working for a business and things like that, like, you don't have the ability to just put your head down and work for 8 hours at something you don't like. I don't have that ability. It does not
Mm-hmm.
exist for me.
Yeah.
So like that personality trait is like, no, you have to go be an entrepreneur. Like if you look at the greatest entrepreneurs or the people who are in the space of like personal development, things like that, they almost all have ADHD. Like Dan Martell's a great example. Dan Martell's got ADHD, he talks about it all the time. But like I would imagine that a lot of the people in these spots have ADHD. Like a significant amount of them probably do.
And those things, although they can be a detriment to you in corporate, they can also be like a superpower outside of corporate if you
For
utilize it right.
I don't really see an avenue where having something like ADHD is good in a structured environment like corporate. I know that they can make accommodations, and to be fair, my work has said they're more than happy to accommodate it, which is great. I haven't asked for any accommodations, but they've offered them, which is nice. That being said, I don't know that they could really offer an accommodation, like a realistic one that would suit somebody who's got dyslexia or ADHD, because I'm not going to read at the speed of somebody else. You know, I'm not going to sit there in an office environment and be able to focus the way other people can. Like I don't have a flow. I can't get to a flow state in an office environment. It's an impossibility.
Yeah.
Unless you stuff me in a room by myself, and then like, what's the point in being in the office? You know?
Yeah.
And anybody with ADHD is going to get easily distracted, and unless they're doing their passion within a corporate environment, they're not going to have a very easy time staying on task. And obviously, corporate very regimented, like do this by this time, do that by that time. That's tough. Whereas if you're in a business or you're an entrepreneur or what have you, offering a service, you care about it and your focus is going to be deeper because you care about it. And that's actually where the superpower comes in. You talk about, because if you love it, you are going to find a higher degree of focus than anybody else. So there's the superpower for people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyways, moral of the story is corporate is not for everyone. And I think for the people who are really unhappy in it, you need to look at yourself, and maybe you need to go to therapy, but you really need to figure out, is the entrepreneurial world actually for you? Or maybe you just need, like Scott Galloway says, like maybe you just need to find a different role in corporate, or maybe you truly are somebody who should leave. It depends what you value and what you're willing to give up. Because if you leave the corporate world, you're giving up a lot. You really are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I've had to wrestle with. You obviously had to wrestle with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The salary, the medical care, people don't really think about that, but like having those benefits is pretty sweet. Especially, you know, if you got kids that need braces, or you go to physiotherapy, you go to chirotherapy, like any of those things. I know you've dealt with some of that, and that's tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks for watching the show, everybody. Like and subscribe. And we're trying to push to 2,500 subs on YouTube. We're getting close. So if you like the show, subscribe. Ring the stupid bell thing too.
But thanks again for tuning in to Second Story. Flip the script, write your sequel. See you on the next one.